And welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi, and we are coming to you live from the AOC studios in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to again talk about what is going on in the Middle East. Now, once we get closer to the elections, I promise you, once all this garbage is out of the way, we will be concentrating on the elections and to hopefully see if we can figure out exactly what is happening out there. I'm sure some of you who are politically educated already know the game and how the game is being played. Just watch what will happen in the next couple of weeks and you will figure out how the game is played. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to speak. Now, a few months back, we had showed you what is going on in the Middle East. Now, why do we continue talking about the Middle East, and what do we have? Why should you care about what's going on in the Middle East? Well, I mean, as you know, we do have a war out there, and we've killed about 1 million people in Iraq. So just that alone, we should concentrate on that. And again, peace in the world should be a concern of yours because you live in the world. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we happen to be paying for almost everything that is going on wrong in the world. Some of this stuff is our own doing, but yet, you know, other people die, we have to pay. Some of this stuff is not our own doing, but we still have to pay. The American taxpayers very much flipping the bill on very much what goes on in the world. Of course, the European Union also pays some of that, but we have the lion's share of this. At a time when our mortgage industry is going downhill, housing, the economy, I don't really know if there is a magic fix for the economy or not, but if you're paying attention to the mainstream media, now they are talking about an economic war. Now, if you have been watching this show, we have talked about an economic war 5 years ago. And we told you we can very much destroy the whole world. We have enough nuclear bombs and missiles and smart bombs and bunker busters, whatever you want to call it, to very much destroy this whole earth, probably 20 or 30 times over. But we told you 5 years ago that the war that we will be losing is the economic war. Now, 5 years later, the mainstream media is starting to talk about an economic war. Now, what is an economic war, ladies and gentlemen? You can see it in your bank account. You can see it in your grocery bill. And you can see it in your mortgage. You can see it in the bankruptcies that are all over the place. You can see it in our industry. You can see it all over our economic system. That's the war that we will be losing big time. We told you about it 5 years ago. Now mainstream media is telling you about it. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a special guest with us in the studio. A gentleman who lived most of his life in Lafayette and around Acadiana. He is a Palestinian. He just returned from Palestine, as a matter of fact. He was there for a couple of years or a year. We will get that whole story from him. But the reason we want to talk about what's going on in Palestine, because, again, you are, as American taxpayer, paying for what goes on in Palestine, paying for the Israeli army, paying for the siege that the Israeli army is putting around all Palestinians, paying for the wall that Israel is building around every Palestinian city, paying for the bullets that kill Palestinian children, paying very much for everything. So we very much, this is why you have to know about this. We've told you about it. We showed you some videos of what is going on in Palestine. And we're going to show you more, and we're going to talk about this problem even more. So now allow me to welcome my guest, Jamal Hamdan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Now, you are not strange to Acadiana, Louisiana, and even Current Issues, the TV show. You were one of the first people who actually supported the program from day one, when it was an infant, actually before it was an infant, when it was in the planning stages. And but what I wanted, the reason I wanted to talk to you tonight is you just got back from Palestine. Now, you have lived here. You know, most people in Acadiana know who Jamal Hamdan is, because I remember anywhere I go with you in town, there is somebody out there that knows you. How long you lived in Acadiana, in the area?
Going on 61 years.
Going on 61 years. Now, you told me that you fought in the Korean War.
I was in the Korean War, yes.
Now, what's a Palestinian, now you are, of course, an American, but what's an American with Palestinian heritage doing in the Korean War way back then?
Well, I was what they call a gun-ho Palestinian American. And I really joined the Marines because I didn't want to be drafted after high school. So I just decided I'll choose the branch of service I want to serve in. So I chose the Marines, a tough outfit, and I figured that's where I fit in.
Okay. Now, you just got back from Palestine. Now, after, you lived here for 61 years, but yet you went back, you lived there for about a year or so. What is it about Palestine that draws you to it, even though you have the Israelis? I mean, why leave the life in the United States with all the freedom that we have to go to a place under siege where someone is controlling every minute of your life?
Well, it's about that time after you live here for so long. You yearn for the place that you was born in. I was born in Palestine. I came to this country when I was 14 years old. I spent 61 years of my life over here. I've seen everything. I've seen the slavery, the treatment that we treated the Jews in the beginning. That's in the 48 and 50s. Then the way we treated the Hispanics. Then the way we treated the Germans and Japanese and put them in the stockades. And now it's the turn of the Muslim Arabs.
You're talking about the way people were treated here in the United States?
They were treated in the United States.
Okay. Now let me ask you again, why would you leave this place with the freedoms and go to live under siege, under Israeli siege?
Well, I think we're losing some of that freedom. I think I used to appreciate, and I did appreciate very much this country. I not only fought in the Korean War, I volunteered with the Marines when they landed in Lebanon in 1958. Volunteered for the Cuban crisis. I just thought so much of this country, and I thought I was protecting this country, and I want to protect this country. But now I see it in a different light. I'm seeing it that we wanted to oppress other people. We are in Iraq, we are in Afghanistan, We supporting Israel against the Palestinians for 60 some odd years. It's the only country that's had wanted independence and never got it from all the countries in the world that we gave and supported their independence except Palestine.
Okay.
And I feel good living there.
Okay. Now, tell me, let's talk about how good it feels to live over there. Now, I went there this past summer, and I've taken videos. I've done a documentary on the wall and on how people living inside this wall. Now, what I want, and some of the videos that we are showing right now, this one here is close to actually where you live. This is at the Kalandia crossings, which is now a border crossing.
Yeah.
Now, this one, it very much divided the city with no hope for the Palestinians of even visiting East Jerusalem, and also cutting off all these people. Now, tell me, how is, and the whole documentary was live inside the wall. Can you tell me how were you living in Palestine, and were you able to travel? How was that? How was living in Palestine? Tell me about that experience.
Well, I lived about exactly from Kalandia. I lived about 5 miles from there. That's north. And I tried every Friday to go for prayer in Jerusalem.
Which is not far from there.
It's about 8 miles.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes you about 2.5 hours to get to Jerusalem because of the people. Americans, they make it a little bit easier for them. But if you're in line, it makes no difference. The people have to pass through chutes like animals. They have to identify you. And you have to wait in turn, and sometimes it's hectic. If someone doesn't like what's going on, a Palestinian, and says something to the Jews, that delays the line for hours because they want to take it out on the rest of the people in line. Now, this year, on our holiest day of Ramadan, at this same crossing that you just showed, blockade, over 6,000 people were trying to get in, and the Israelis won't let them in. They would not allow one soul in. And I was one of the ones that was waiting in line, and I had to turn back. And they do not allow, on Fridays, on Fridays, they do not allow anybody to go to Jerusalem to pray under the age of 35, sometimes 40. And they call Israel a democracy. A democracy is where you have freedom, opportunity, and treatment is equal to everybody.
Now, were you able to move? I know you lived like in close to Ramallah, which is the city where most of the Palestinian leadership. But if you wanted to go to different cities in Palestine, were you able to move around?
Much easier than native Palestinians. Native Palestinians, they have to get permits, and sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days. And by that time you might not need it. But Americans normally, they make it much easier for them to move.
So when you have an American passport, it might help, even though sometimes it did not help.
Oh, sometimes it doesn't help. It depends on the individual who's there.
Right.
And
right, because I remember when I went there, when I went there like in late 90s, it was okay. When I show my American passport, everything was okay. But the last couple of times, now the last time I went, I had media credentials and I was equipped, so they did not mess with me. But the time before, the American passports really did not helped me much, because I was standing at these checkpoints and roadblocks, and we have some pictures for roadblocks, if we can go ahead and throw those up on the screen. Now tell me about the roadblocks when you have hundreds of Palestinians waiting in line just to go to work or even go to school. How is that?
It's really very hard. Take the checkpoint and the blockade on the north of Ramallah, where the University of Bir Zayt is. That's where they used to give a hard time to all the students and the college students going over there. They used to prevent them. They used to chase them in the fields because the students are adamant they want to go to school. So they go around the checkpoints and they chase them in the field. They take them in as prisoners. They turn them back. It's tough. It's tough for the old people. Some of them died because they couldn't get across. Ladies delivered right there.
So these roadblocks
are a detriment to the movement of the Palestinian people. You know, they have over 750 of such military closures and everything over the West Bank.
So just so our viewers can understand, a roadblock, it's what it is. The army blocking the road where no one can pass.
One car at a time on one side, on the other side where humans pass.
Okay.
On the opposite side. Cars are separate than where people...
So how long people would have to wait at these roadblocks just to cross?
I've seen some myself wait 2.5 hours sometimes. One time I took a taxi, and in the taxi they had some Palestinian natives. They have no permit, so they wanted to avoid. So the driver, and I didn't know this was coming, the driver took me in the Kalandia camp that you showed, refugee camp, and he kept zigzagging through there, and others are coming from the other way around.
To avoid the roadblock.
To avoid the roadblock. And this, it's so narrow that I had to get out of the cab, walk 500 feet sometimes where's the curve, stop the traffic over there, so the taxi we're in. I've done that 4 times, and then I was...
Because 2 cars can't pass through these alleys.
Right. And I had an appointment at the Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem, and my daughter-in-law was with me, and she had a permit. When we arrived there, the permit had expired. They said, you can't come in.
Wow.
You're right at the gate of the hospital. It said, look, they looked at her permit. They said, your permit expired.
Expired what, that day?
That day, yeah. They just give you from such and such a time to such and such a time. And we thought I didn't think we were going to go through all of this. I thought it would be simpler and everything. But it got so complicated by the time we got there, so we had to go back.
Now, we covered on the show where women had delivered their babies, and some babies died actually on these roadblocks because the Israelis would not even let an ambulance carry in a patient to a hospital, and some people actually died on these roadblocks. Now,
in some cases, they even attack and bomb the ambulances.
Oh, we showed how ambulances were attacked, and but we do have a lot of pictures for these roadblocks. Actually, that picture you were showing is it showed very much the killings of what's going on by the Israeli army. But we had a bunch of pictures with roadblocks where it'll show you hundreds and thousands of people who basically trying to go from point A to point B inside the same city. Now, what about the wall that they are building? Like, for instance, in your area.
Before we go to the wall,
okay.
Let me, when I remember, we talked about easy passage with an American passport sometime. In 1986, that's when the Palestinians want to go home with their families to visit. In 1986 was a year to remember, because as these people flew in with their families from all parts of the U.S. and Europe and everything, and landed at the airport, they kept them in a compound. They shipped them out the second day to the destination where they embarked. They wouldn't allow them in, period. I was very fortunate that I had went to Jordan and flew from Jordan to Tel Aviv. My brother-in-law and his wife was with me. There was another couple with me. They turned both of them back, and I was lucky they let me in. But all of these people spent all that kind of money and everything else, and they were not allowed to get in. And then we got a campaign going. We got in touch with all the embassies, American Embassy, Condoleezza Rice, when she came to visit with Abbas over there, and everything. This past year, 2007, they made it easier. They still turned people, but they still made it.
Now, what about the...
So the passport doesn't mean that much.
Well, yeah, because actually a lot of Palestinian American business people who, after signing the so-called peace agreement in '93, they were encouraged to go and invest in the Palestinian areas, and actually they were encouraged by the American administration to go and invest, but yet Israel would not allow them to actually live there and take care of their investments. They can come in once a year for like 3 months, and then they have to leave.
They were told that you invest so much money and you will get a permanent residence, that you can come in and stay as long as you want, take care of your business and everything.
Now, mind you, these people are Palestinians. I mean, they're not like Japanese or Chinese.
Exactly. I was one of those people that tried to get this, and I went to the military governor at the time over there in the city of Ramallah, and he asked me what I wanted. I said, I wanted the permanent residence. He said, for what? I said, for one thing, my mother is old, I want to take care of her. He said, take her with you.
Wow.
Well, I said, let me ask you a question. Where are you from? He said, I'm from Poland. I said, you mean to tell me you're sitting in my hometown on our property, and you tell them, native Palestinians, that I cannot stay here, but you are? He said, might is right.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
Because he who has the gun gets to rule. Except that gun is paid for by American taxpayers. Now, how does it feel? I'm sure, me being a Palestinian American, I'm torn, where on the one hand, the country that I love and that I'm living in and that I am raising my children in, and the country of my ancestors that I also love, I'm torn of how my own tax money goes to pay to kill my own people. How do you feel when you are in that dilemma? How do you deal with it?
Well,
especially someone who actually fought in the Marines.
I actually think that each and every one of us, taxpayers, when they go to sleep, they should think about that every dollar that they pay in taxes goes to kill people, whether it's in Palestine, Afghanistan. You know, the report that just came out of London yesterday, 1 million Iraqis died since the invasion of 2003. This is and has been a catastrophe. We destroyed the infrastructure of Iraq. We destroyed everything that the Iraqis have. Their education is not up to par there, neither the Palestinians. So our tax money, and that's why we're in a dilemma in this economic war that you spoke about. Because all of our money went for occupation and to help kill Arabs and Palestinians and Iraqis and Muslims around the world.
So Now, going back, let's go back to Palestine and the wall. What exactly, I went there to do a documentary twice, 3 times, 4 times, whatever, but I was only there for a short period of time, a week, 2 weeks, film, shoot what I needed to do, and then leave. Can you tell me about life inside the wall? What exactly, there's no way that we can capture just by looking at the cameras of what exactly takes place. Can you tell us what takes place when they put a wall like this in the middle of a city?
Actually, there is from Kalandia, where you showed, they have a town about 1.5 miles from there called Ram. And in this city, the wall went down right in the middle, divided the city in 2. People cannot communicate. If they want to communicate, they would have to drive back to the checkpoint and meet at the checkpoint from either side of the wall, or go to Jerusalem and meet in Jerusalem. Now they try to communicate through the drilled holes in the wall where they can pass messages and things across. And when the Israelis found out, they came and they filled up these holes in there. Then there is people, half of their families are on one side and the other half is on this side. The school could be on this side and the residency is on one side. It's very difficult, completely very difficult. When they were building the walls, some students have to climb over the wall to get to their schools. They call it a fence. That's an understatement. A 20-foot wall, 420 miles long, paid for by U.S. taxpayers' dollars. That's what the wall is all about.
So when it went...
It keeps farmers from their fields. Now they become an Israeli territory. Israel has the land, and they farm it, they appropriated it, and it becomes theirs. So you see, this is called for security, but more so is to take more Arab lands, to confiscate more Arab lands from the Palestinians.
So, like we're looking at the wall here, so it goes right in the middle of a town, divides the people, but yet also it keeps people away from their farmland, from their schools.
From commerce area, the commerce, the commercial section could be on one side, residents on one side. It just completely disarrayed everything. It's just complete hardship.
Now we're looking at a picture how it zigzags. How do they, I'm looking at this, why did it not go straight, but they went zigzagging in neighborhoods? American viewers watching this, they probably can't realize the impact of something like this on their economy, on their lives. Because just imagine, whatever city you live in, imagine if a wall goes in between you, your neighbors, your friends, your families, your schools, your businesses, where you can never get back to the side you were on. What do people do? If I'm a farmer and I live in that house on the left-hand side, and then my farmland is on the right, what options do I have?
You are completely controlled by one gate. Like in Qalqidia, North Palestine, there's only one gate, and the city is surrounded, just like you see, completely cut off from the outside world. And it's at their pleasure whether they let you in, out, and if you go out, whether you'll come in that night or not, it's at their pleasure. And this is the hardship that the Palestinians endure. I have seen the wall actually right next to the house and to the windows. That's how close it is. Why they put it like this? It gives them more.
You know what? Actually, we have a picture right after these pictures of
where the wall butts in the house.
As a matter of fact, I took a picture where the wall butts into that house. I went to that house there. But there was a picture on the wall. It's a man sitting, an old man sitting in his house, and the wall is like right there 2 feet away from his front door.
That's a nice fence they put there. But that's the hardship they have to endure. They're in prison. They're actually in prison. And you know, Palestine, you know, they're talking about Palestine and a free Palestine.
Okay. This one right here, this is, okay, it's a little dark, but if you look at the picture, there's an old man, and that's his front door, and the wall is right there.
I see it.
And I have seen where they actually took half of the house.
Yeah, that's where it butted the house. Yeah.
Well, actually, the one that butted the house, actually this thing went in the middle of the house, and it had they had to destroy a couple of rooms out of this house to put the wall. So actually you had a wall going through your house. And this is, you know, these are some pictures that we had taken.
It's really unimaginable what people have to go through with this wall.
Now, how high is this wall?
20 or 22 feet high, complete solid concrete. That's what it is.
Now, this wall, it goes inside, surrounds Palestinian cities.
Right.
But yet the roadblocks are even inside the cities and on the outskirts of the cities.
That's where the roadblocks are. I mean, this is a security, so the Palestinians on one side cannot go on the Israeli side. Now, when you want to get out of one gate to go to Jerusalem, then you still have the blockades. You have two blockades, even before you pass a wall and after you pass a wall. They have the blockades.
Now, you know, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling when we see and feel. You see, I did not live there, but you did, and you lived the experience of being inside a wall. Tell me about people. How do they feel? I mean, are they?
They're not comfortable. They're miserable. But there's nothing they could do about it. I mean, that's the nutshell of it all. Nothing they could do about it. But to take everything in stride and arrange their life.
What about the economy? When these walls go circle these cities, now most people, they might be working in another town. Or tell me about the economy. How do people live inside a prison like this?
Well, if there's any farmlands left, they do this of land. They get money from their relatives outside, whether they're working in Egypt, Jordan, or the United States, or Europe. But that's the only source of income.
Yeah, but Israel's controlling that, because right now you can't really send.
I know, you can't send.
Now, what are all these? Because, you know, this wall cannot be for Israel's security. You know, Israel has the fourth strongest army in the world, and it has the first strongest army in the world behind it, which is the United States Army.
But according to report as of yesterday or day before yesterday by Israel, that this mighty army was defeated by Hezbollah in 2006.
Well, okay. But we're talking about the Palestinians who are basically, you know,
without arms.
Without arms. They're not armed with Hezbollah missiles. They are armed, you know, they are armed with pipes. They call them rockets that Hamas throws, that 99% of them don't even reach where they're going.
They have no guidance system. They're so awkward.
No guidance system. You know, these rockets, anyone can, the technology Boy Scouts, they prepare rockets. So we're not talking about Hezbollah. We're talking about the Palestinians who are virtually unarmed. And we're talking about the fourth strongest army. This wall when it goes in the middle of someone's house, that's not to protect people in Israel.
No, no, no.
If they want to put it, then let them put it where the border is.
This wall is actually to be the final border between Israel and the future state of Palestine.
Well, that's fine, but the future state of Palestine, I mean, you have this wall, and we showed our viewers a map of how this wall is going. But at the same time, you have this wall around the whole thing, and then you have walls around Palestinian cities. Is that also, that's security? I mean, what are they afraid of?
Well,
is this really not for Israel's security, but to force the people to leave? Make their lives so miserable so they can't leave?
This is for cleansing, ethnic cleansing. The Jews, the Israelis want a pure Jewish state. When they went to Annapolis, they had asked that the Abbas, the PLO, recognize Israel as a pure Jewish state. So what's happening, in Gaza, what's happening in Gaza, the Israelis hoping at least 500,000 would leave, and then they'll shut the borders and leave them outside, part of the cleansing. That would leave only 1 million people in Gaza instead of 1.5 million people.
I'm thinking at least when the white man came to North America, they did not, well, let me see if I can be politically right here.
Maybe they didn't have the means.
But, I mean, at least they did not pick up the Indians and, move them to Alaska or something.
Well, eventually they ended on reservations. They ended on reservations, same thing.
But at least now they can get out. They can get out and live. Of course, we don't want to go into the Indian thing because
maybe in 150 years we can do the same thing.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's go to the phones and see Winston. Go ahead, Winston.
Yes.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Dr. Tillawi, I noticed that over my months of watching your program, you seem to be very knowledgeable along with your guests. And I have it's a I guess you call it a theoretical question, but if you had the ability, for instance, with a wave of your hands to make things ideal to develop an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement, what would you do?
Well,
I'll hang up and listen.
Sure, thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. And the Palestinians have done this already when they agreed back in 1993 to sit down with Israel and say, yes to peace. Back in 1988, the Palestinians made a strategic decision, which is peace with Israel and no more fighting. Now, the Palestinians have done that. Now, all Israel has to do is get out of what is known today as the West Bank, which is the borders of 1967. You see, back in 1947, the United Nations have voted to split the country in two pieces. Give 52%, 53% to the Jews and 47% to the Arabs, which is Christians and Muslims. Now, as it stands right now, the Palestinians are not asking for their 47% that was given to them. All they're asking for is the West Bank and that little strip called Gaza that Israel pulled the plug on them a couple of weeks ago. Peace with the Palestinians and peace with Israel, that's what the Palestinians want. They have lived for 7 years, from 93 to 2000, because this turmoil that's going on now, it started in 2000. That's when what's called the Second Intifada took place in September of 2000. But from 1993, when Yasser Arafat, Ishaq Rabin, and Bill Clinton signed the so-called peace agreement. Actually, it was not really a peace agreement. It was an agreement to talk about peace at a later time. That's all it was. And when it came down to the issues, Israel did not go with any of the issues that it signed for. You see, the thing, what it boils down to is Israel has the upper hand. No one can make Israel do something it does not want to do. As long as Israel, don't think that Palestinians wake up every day thinking, I want to grow up to fight Israel. No. Palestinians are educated people. Palestinians want to live in peace. They want to raise their children in a peaceful atmosphere. That's all they want. But they're not willing, they're so stubborn that they're not willing to leave the land of their ancestors. And no one should expect them to do so. So they decided to stay there regardless of how much Israel makes it, how hard Israel makes it for them, that they are going to stay, no matter how miserable they stay. Life is. So the Palestinians have spoken. It is the Israelis who has the upper hand, and there's nobody else in the world that can make them do it, by the way. No one can make the Israelis do it and go along with peace with the Palestinians. All the Palestinians want to do, they don't want, like the media tries to tell you that they want to throw them in the sea. No. No one wants to throw the Israelis, the Jews in the sea. The Palestinians have agreed, and they also said, just give us the 22%, which is the 1967 borders. 22%. So they're giving up 20%. Actually, they're giving up 25% already and accepting the 22%.
Hesham, we must take into consideration one thing. I have said that there will never be peace with the Israelis, and one of the reasons there will never be peace with the Israelis is the fact that the Israelis think they are God's chosen people. They're above all of us Gentiles. So you cannot,
but
the inferior cannot appeal to the superior.
But you know what? I mean, apparently they don't know their religion, because they were not chosen. They were not God's chosen people. Because God preferred them. God chose them for a reason. And if you are a Jew or a Christian out there, or even a Muslim, because Muslims do believe in Abraham and the Jewish religion, but they were chosen and they were given, they were asked to fulfill a promise.
And they did not.
And they did not.
And they did not. And
so, I mean, they're not going to be chosen for the rest of infinity.
In fact, when you refer to the chosen people or the children of Israel, that's not the Israelites. The children of Israel are the sons of Jacob. In Genesis 30:32, it tells us that Jacob was named Israel because he's supposed to have wrestled with the angels and everything. And
well, actually, he wrestled with God.
Wrestled with God, okay. And because he was so strong, his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. So the children of Israel are the sons of Jacob, not what we have Jews from around the world, from Kazakhs, Europe,
Poland,
Russia.
And mainly Europe.
Yeah.
Europeans.
So these are not. The Zionist agenda is not only to control Palestine, and that's why you don't have peace. The Zionist agenda is to control what they call the crescent, the Fertile Crescent, from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and all the way to half of Turkey, and that crescent. And that's why they do not have any borders, any recognized borders until today.
That answers Winston's call,
right,
that they don't want peace because they have a master plan.
They have not achieved.
They have a master plan that they're working on.
They're working on it.
So they want to go beyond
Palestine.
And if you look at it, what is happening now, the war in Iraq, and most of our viewers are educated on the subject, that we went to Iraq for Israel. We did not go to Iraq for the United States because we had no benefits, none whatsoever. We have over 4,000 And many more, by the way, but that's, I'm going to go with the official number.
Incidentally, everything that the United States does is an agenda presented to it by the State of Israel. And the United States take it upon himself to fulfill that agenda for the Israelis.
Oh, I mean, the viewers know about AIPAC and how AIPAC controls and how they control the politics here. And of course, you know, if someone wants to become a senator or a congressman or a president of the United States, of course, he's going to sell his own mother out if that will get him votes. So what if he goes and destroys 1 million Iraqis and kills 1 million
Personally, I think, you know, you can choose any president you want, elect any president you want.
But we don't elect Jamal. I mean, look what's happening here. You know, they're pumping up Barack Obama. Okay, they're feeding him real good, so he can become the nice.
That there's no discrimination.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's going to be the nice big cow to slaughter, because that's what's going to happen right now.
But you must take into consideration also that in the background, the ones that make decisions is the big corporations. These are the people that decide what they're going to do, if they can stop the war, do they want the war stopped, is it in their benefit.
Why stop the war when they're making money off of it?
That's what I'm saying. This is a all of this is a corporation. Us going into Afghanistan was because we wanted to pass a pipeline from the Caspian Sea to the Indian Ocean.
Well, not we, but the oil companies that also, by the way, own the media.
And Condoleezza Rice was
with Chevron.
With Chevron, high official.
Okay.
The president
was with Halliburton.
Hamid Karzai, the president of Afghanistan, was also with Chevron in Houston, Texas.
Right.
So the whole thing is corporation are running.
But you see, the thing is, these corporations also happen to own the media. So the media actually was the marketing department for these companies to market the war to the American people. Because, you know what? If we knew it here, sitting in Lafayette, Louisiana, way before we even went to hit Iraq, when the president, and by the way, just last week they said there was a report, and I read it, that the administration lied 935 times. And I'm thinking, well, we told our people, our viewers, that they're lying when they were lying, not 6 years later.
But you're only reaching so many people. These people brainwash the rest of the American public, so to speak.
Well, at least we know one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that the audience in Lafayette, Louisiana is very informed, and not just in Lafayette, Louisiana. Also, we reach many, actually 122 countries watch this program on the internet, and we are on satellite. We go to Europe, we go to North Africa, and etc., etc. So, but we can't reach what Fox Network is reaching. We can't reach what ABC, NBC, and these are the people that own the media outlets. If you look at who owns them, you will see that the same people sitting in on several media in several media boardrooms. And also, to add to all this, you have companies that own media, and at the same time they manufacture weapons. You know, White Westinghouse, GE, Hughes. All these people are sitting on media boardrooms and at the same time manufacturing guns, and they have a media to market the war for them. And they tell the American people, go to vote. Go to vote. Go to vote and elect somebody that was already selected So what the heck? Where's the voting? You know, I don't know if I'm going to go and vote, because everybody says, "Oh, no, you have to exercise your right. You know, you're un-American if you don't go to vote." Go to vote for who? Go to vote for somebody that they selected because he's going to perform a particular job for them?
Well, no one says, no president, not one of them that's running for president said they will try and make peace with the Palestinians and give the Palestinians...
Well, they can't.
They never said
it.
All they said, security of Israel, security of Israel. We support Israel 100%. We support Israel 100%.
Of course, because if they say anything different...
And now, by the way, now they're finding out, the Pentagon and everybody finding out, if they wanted peace, the first thing that should be settled is the Palestinian issue with the Israelites.
Okay. You know what? There's only one person that even if I have to scratch his name, well, now it'll be my luck. Someone is going to go scratch his name on the voting machine and they're going to think it's me. But even if I have to write it down, it will be Ron Paul. Because, now I'm not saying that I've decided to vote, but he's the only one
that stood for what
he's right. He's the only one that's saying
wants to change, as it is, exactly.
Okay.
Of course, you know, Ralph Nader is exploring the possibility of getting in.
Well, listen, the only one that is talking the American way is Ron Paul, because he is talking Constitution. One thing I loved about this country is the Constitution. It's the freedom. It's not the corporations, and it's not... But this man, he's an enemy, Ron Paul, he's an enemy of corporate, media, and everybody else. You know, they are trying so hard to eliminate him from the beginning. You know, if the media wanted to make Ron Paul, they would have made him.
They would have made him.
If the media gave all the candidates who were running equal time, equal justice, the man who will be the president, the next president of the United States, it will be Ron Paul, the next president of the United States. That's a fact. The man was able to collect $6 million in donations in one night from people, not from corporations, from average people, the average Joe out there on the internet, with average ticket of $200, $250. Now, when you collect $6 million, and then Fox Network
from individuals
has a war, they've decided that they want to wage war on him. All of the media decided they want to wage war on him. This is the man who's sticking to the Constitution. This is the man who told us about the economy going down the drain way back in the 80s and the 90s. And now they are destroying this man, destroying a good man.
He's the only one that could have made a change in this country.
But just like you said, you know, most people, the majority, they listen to what is going on in the world and in the country by the media that is controlled, the media that has an agenda, and you wonder why we are in the mess we are in. And we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to what are your final thoughts, Jamal? When are you going back? Are you headed back to Palestine?
Soon I have a trip to make in the United States, and then shortly I'll be leaving.
But you will be coming back definitely, because you know, you can't do without this is, you know, Cajun land and gumbo's.
I'm reversing the situation. I lived here, visited over there. Now I'm going to live over there
and visit here. Yeah, because you know we Piccadilly. You know, that's well, hey, that's a plug-in for Piccadilly. But you know, Jamal enjoys the food there, and there's one thing I've been with Jamal a couple of times there. So, but I'm sure we will miss you, and
we'll stay in touch.
Definitely, we will stay in touch. And I just wanted to thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure, and I commend you for your program to inform the people the truth. wish more people would listen and pass it on, and they listen to you with open mind, because all the news media come to a central location and then it's censored, and they give you dispense it, whether it's ABC, CBS, CNN, it's all the same news.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Jamal Hamdan, and ladies and gentlemen,
thank you for having me.
We will see you next Thursday with Michael Collins Piper. Good night.
Opinions expressed in the previous program are solely those of the segment's producer and do not in any way reflect